3.4 worksheet 1. That's the one that was given to you after the quiz or before the quiz, whatever it was, on Tuesday last week.
Tuesday.
Huh?
Tuesday. I'm British.
It's Tuesday.
Oh. Brain did not pull Tuesday out of that.
I thought he said cheese died.
I heard shoes die.
Cheese died.
I was very confused.
Because I did, yeah. My sister confused people.
You liking to confuse people? I've never. Okay, so today we are finishing up our chapter 2 notes packet. With that, we're going to have some more proofs popping up today. So, when I do my proofs, I know I make these 2 columns. Mariana, what do I label on the very top of the 2 columns? S and R, statements and reasons. Brody, how do I begin every single proof? The given. First reason is the word given. The first statement is all of the things we are given. How many givens do I have in this problem? I have 2 different givens here. One of the things, and I told you this yesterday, that I've seen people doing on proofs so far is missing part of the givens. Make sure you're getting all of them on there. Make sure you're numbering your steps or you're drawing lines between your steps. Something to indicate that you know what goes with what. So, we make our 2 columns, we write down our given information. From there we check 5 things. Haley, Bert. What's the first of our 5 things that we look for?
Words.
Words. Do I have any words? No. Nate, what's the second of the 5 things I look for?
Symbols.
Do I have any symbols? Not the important ones anyway. Aiden, what's the third thing I look for? Should be on your postulate sheet on the top of the orange one. Something or something. The first one starts with an S, second one starts with a T. Substitution or transitive property. So I see the same thing showing up in the proof in 2 different places with equal signs. See any of that?
No.
No. Kylie, what's the 4th thing I look for? Can I do any algebra right now? Can I like solve an equation that's got like a name over here and a nah. Peyton, what's the 5th thing we look for? Pictures. So, I got a picture here. When it comes to pictures, I've got 4 options of what things can look like. Now, when I'm focusing in on my picture, I'm focusing in on the angles that it's talking about. Now, sometimes the picture is not going to have the angles drawn on there. Now, this one does, but let's pretend. Uh-oh. It's going to work. Yep. I'm going to straight up wipe this out. I'm going to pretend. You don't have to do this. This is for the sake of what we do in this situation. Grab out your notes back. Page 13. If the angles are unmarked, like I just made them. Look at me. Look at the angles that are in your proof. WDZ. And I put a mark on them. EDW. W, I put a mark on them. Now, yours are already marked in your picture, so you don't have to deal with that. But if you do have a problem where they're not marked like that, put a little dot on them or something on them to be like, okay, I'm talking about those two angles. Which means, this stuff down here, I don't care about it. It's there to throw me off. I got 4 options of things that come purely from pictures. First one's segment addition postulate. Are we dealing with segments? No. Second one's angle addition postulate. I need adjacent angles, so angles right next to one another. Those are adjacent. But for this, I need to know 3 different measurements. Do I know 3? No. I need to look for things that could be a linear pair. Do those two look like a linear pair? Yes, they are a linear pair. They share that middle line, and the part that they don't share makes a straight line. So, this is what I'm using. I write it in my reason. Now, for my statement. Here's the most common place that people screw up on these proofs. What can I write? Do I write this plus this equals 180?
No.
No.
Wait.
Do I write this plus this equals 180?
Yeah.
No.
Without the N.
Nope.
Are supplementary.
The postulate says they are supplementary. What can I write?
Oh,
They are supplementary. I have to do that. Notice there's no M's on these. There should be no M's on these when I write it. W, D, Z, and angle, E, D, W. Don't forget the angle symbols. I do need those. Are supplementary. Or we've shortened it down to SUPP. You have to write that. I know it seems redundant, but it's the point of a proof, is that you're justifying everything you do. If you don't know what to do next, you go back through your 5 things. Diego, any idea on what I can do next?
Substitute.
Not quite yet. Do you see a word?
Yeah.
That word supplementary. On which sheet am I going to find the word supplementary? I look for supplementary on here. Is it on here?
Yeah.
Where?
At the top.
Where I've got at the top. Technically there's more above it, but top left?
Yeah.
So, measure of this plus measure of this equals 180. So that's what I'm going to use, definition of supplementary. Again, most common place I screw this up. Do I write 13x minus 2 plus 6 plus 31x equals 180? No, because that's not what the thing says. The thing says, by name, with the little m's, added together equals 180. By name, with the little m's, equals 180. That's what that definition says I can write. I can only write exactly what it tells me I can write. Jackson. Now what?
Substitution.
Now it's substitution. Now I see the same thing showing up in multiple places. I see a measure of angle WDZ here and here, both in situations where there's equal signs, one that's specifically equal. Same thing with EDW. So I'm going to substitute now. Jasmine, what does that equation actually end up looking like? Like, what do I write?
13x minus 2 plus 6 plus 36
You got it. Now at this point, I can go back to my 5 things if I really need, but I'm guessing most of y'all know where to go from here. Cam, what should I do now? Gonna simplify. I combine my like terms. I've got a 13x and a 31x. 13 and 31, they're both positive. Put them together and I get 44x. I've got a negative 2 and a positive 6. Keep an eye on positives and negatives. Negative 2 plus 6. Positive 4 equals 180. Jada. Now what?
Subtract
44x equals 176, and that was subtract. Piper, now what?
Divide 176 by 8.
Dividing 176 divided by 44, I'm guessing is 4.
Yep.
Sweet. Ava, am I done?
No.
How do you know I'm not done?
Because the proof, what you got doesn't match up with the proof.
This does not match the proof. It's asking for the measure of angle EDW, not for x. Did I need to find x? Yeah. I needed to find x to do that. I'm going to substitute. Measure angle EDW. Was equal to 6 plus 31x, so 6 plus 31 times 4. Make sure you're following PEMDAS. Do not add before you multiply. 31 times 4 is 124 plus 6. Is that 130? Yes. And that is simplified. Nothing all that different, right? In fact, it's not meant to be different. It's meant to be following the same ideas as what we did yesterday. It's meant to just give you just a little more practice of doing the same things on these proofs. So, I believe this is our final problem. Yeah, final problem. I'm going to start with my given. How many givens do I have here? There's 3 givens. 1, 2, 3. So I write each of them in. Now I tend to split them up by line. You don't have to do that. It's just a me thing. Helps me organize. If you don't know where to start, you start with your 5 things. What's the first of them? Words. Do I have any words? I have the word bisect. Which sheet's going to have bisect? If you don't know, check them both. But bisect did not come up in chapter 3. It came up in chapter, technically 1, but 2 as well. We did proofs like this one back in chapter 2, but they're also the ones that had the most common errors. That's why this one came back up. Because, 1, we need to practice it. 2, these proofs will continue to get mixed together. Do you see bisect on here anywhere? Left side? There's 2 of them, isn't there? Is it a segment bisector or an angle bisector? Angle bisector. Now, according to this, that means we have some congruent angles by name. Use the picture to figure out which angles are congruent. This one got cut into two angles by this. You see the two angles there? Those are the congruent ones. Angle EDM is congruent to angle CDM. And that was the definition of angle bisector. If you don't know what to do, always go back to your 5 things. Charlie, what do you think I should do next? Do I have words? Yeah, but I took care of the word, right? That's how I got this. Do I have symbols? Specifically a congruent symbol. We don't work well with congruent symbols. Can I change congruent symbols? Using what? I could change it into an equals. What property allows me to do that? Or what definition? That's what congruent means. So it's the definition of congruent. Keeping in mind, when I go from a congruent symbol to an equal sign with angles, I need the M's. Aaliyah. Now what? Substitution. I now have equal signs. I can work with equal signs and equal signs. I couldn't work with the congruent symbol mixed with equal signs, but I can work with equals and equals. And I notice I got an EDM I can replace with numbers and a CDM that I can replace with numbers and variables. And I'm back to the algebra. Haley, I want to solve this. What would you tell me to do first? Which number am I going to get on the other side? Going to move that over there. To undo subtract 3, we add 3, and it's called the addition property of equality. When you're moving from one side of the equal sign to the other, it's literally just, what did I do? I added. I want to keep going. I want to put my x's together. I personally prefer to do that first, but it works either way. Subtract the 14x. I get 2x is equal to 16. That was subtraction. And we divide. X equals 8. Are we done? Now, look at your proof. We're plugging back in. Measure of angle EDM was 16x minus 3, so 16 times 8 minus 3. Not 8. And then get it together. $16 times 8 is 128. Minus 3 is 125. What is plugging in called? heard it. Substitution. What is actually doing the math called? Simplify. Good. Today was not meant to be a large leap. Today was meant to be a little bit more practice of doing the same things we're already doing. Getting a little bit better at them proofs. Today we finished up section 3.4. Today is the 22nd. Our homework is due on Thursday. What else is happening Thursday? Test. So last day for what? Last day to retake chapter 2 test, yes. Most people haven't talked to me about that, so that's not what I was getting at. It's also the last day to do what?